Look, if your YouTube ads aren't converting like they should, or you're just feeling overwhelmed with all the different targeting options, you're not alone. After analyzing over 2 million in ad spend for ourselves and clients, these are the best types of targeting we've uncovered when it comes to driving results with YouTube ads. Hey, I'm Jason, faith-based entrepreneur and marketing geek. Timestamps below, along with some other helpful links and resources, including a link to our YouTube ads playbook to help you with the research process so you can figure out which targeting option is best for you, and of course, which one is actually going to work with the types of video ads and campaign goals that you have. Now, jumping into our campaign diagram here, when it comes to targeting, this is all done at the ad group level. So whatever you set up in your campaign settings is good to go. Now it's time to just talk about what the heck do we do and how do we tell Google who our ads should show to. That's essentially what we're doing at this level, and there are a lot of options. And what's even more confusing is now Google is actually starting to take away some of the targeting options based upon the type of campaign you set up. Although if you follow the advice on this channel, you've most likely used custom video campaign or get views, so you are going to have access to all of these. But once you try things in the future, you might find that some of these go away. So let's go through the two different types. We have targeting people and we have targeting content. So targeting people, Google's doing its, creepy tracker thing and figuring out what our online-based activity is, and then putting us into different groups using things like in-market audiences, affinity audiences, and some of these other targeting options as well. But the point is they're looking at people's behavior and saying, hey, I think they're interested in this topic, or hey, I think they're looking to buy this product or service. And so we can essentially go to Google and pull one of these off the shelves, and most likely you're going to find a couple that are good fit for whatever your business is. Now, this is targeting people. Targeting content, on the other hand, is all about the videos, websites, or articles, or blogs, or whatever that you want your ads to show up next to, or around, or with. And so here, you're just saying, hey, Google, go find this type of content for me. I don't care who's looking at the content. So in one regard, with people, we're following the person, right, based upon their activity. And the other, we are just targeting content, and we don't really care who is actually looking at that content. Now, of course, there's pros and cons to each. So when it comes to YouTube ads in general, if we were to put it in a reverse pyramid of what's really specific and what's really broad, when it comes to targeting content, that's going to be broad. Why? Because we don't actually know why those people are looking at that content. They might have just looked up that video for a friend, or they're just looking for a couple videos on your particular topic, and then they're going to go off back to their usual thing. Whereas as we get towards the bottom of the pyramid, where we can actually target people based upon interactions with our channel or business, although we'll set those up later because it takes a while for those to be big enough. But when we're looking at things like custom intent or looking at in-market, here we're targeting people based upon their recent behavior. And so as opposed to just saying, hey, show my, cool dog treats to anyone who's looking up things about dog training, we could say, no, show my dog treats to people who are dog owners and have purchased treats in the past. Obviously, there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but that's just an example of how broad or specific we can be. And of course, before we move on, we need to answer the question of all these targeting options, really, which one is the best? And not only the best, which one is the best to start with? And of course, it depends. Okay, I'm just kidding. Don't you hate it when people say, you ask them a question, they're like, oh, well, I don't know, it depends. No, let's have a definitive answer here. If you're starting out with YouTube ads campaigns, you want to generate leads and sales, use in-market audiences. Just start there, right? That's the quickest, fastest way to get up and running. Then your next step will be custom intent, which of course is something that will require a little bit of research and setup, but it's relatively simple kind of once you get the hang of it. So that does it for the overarching, what are the targeting types, what are our options, and of course, which one is actually the best to start with. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and start off with demographics. So even though custom intent and in-market are my top picks for where to start, let's go ahead and just jump in to the ones that we're probably going to skip, just so you know the other options here. And of course, demographics is going to be the broadest one on this list. And when it comes to demographic targeting, we have 3 worldwide options and one that only applies to the US. So of course we have age, we have the 2 real genders, then we have parental status, and finally we have income brackets based upon US data. So if you're running ads outside the US, forget this last one because it's just not going to be helpful and apply because it's only based upon the United States. Now, as cool as it sounds to say, hey, I want to target moms over 40 who are in the top like 30 or 20% income bracket in the States, it sounds really cool in theory, but then when you actually run the campaigns, you'll find that you will hardly get any views or impressions, or your view count or your cost per view is astronomically high. And that's because the more things you check off here at this level, the more expensive your ads are going to be. And so what I recommend doing for whatever your business or channel is, only uncheck 18 to 24 because that age bracket probably isn't buying your products or services. And after that, just leave everything else alone because Google's automatically going to gather all this data for you. 3 or 6 months, come back and look and say, okay, you know what? It looks like females really do purchase more of our stuff, or it looks like people under 30 really don't like our stuff, right? And just let the data validate what you believe instead of trying to pay a premium before you know for sure that what your inclinations are of your audience. So that does it for demographic targeting. Really, it's not something you're going to use very much. The next one is life events. Now, life events is where Google has made this nice little list for us. I do it like this, it's over there. So this nice little list for us where we can essentially target people based upon a major life event. Now you can see here, these are pretty limited. Like this is all the events, right? So if they don't apply directly to your business, then just go ahead and skip it. Now our next targeting option, coming back to our pyramid here, that you're most likely going to test in the future, unlike the first two, is going to be affinity audiences. And this is where Google has grouped people essentially based upon their interests and hobbies. And so they are looking at the content and types of sites people are going to and inferring what they're interested in. And so unlike in market, which we'll get to in a moment, this is just based upon general interests. So this isn't saying they're looking to buy something right now. This is saying, as in a general sense, this person likes looking at websites about dogs, or this person likes looking at websites about homesteading or home decorating, right? So whatever their kind of general interests or hobbies are, whenever they pick up their phone and just start scrolling at night, that's what affinity audiences kind of represents. And so there are a lot of options in there. And if you decide to go ahead and test these, you just want to make sure that you are being very specific. So if you're looking at an affinity audience, you're saying, well, they might be interested, then the answer is no, don't use that affinity. But if you're looking and you say, well, I sell dog treats and these are dog lovers, perfect, let's go. Like that's how clear and concise affinity audience should be. Just like our next one, in market, which is of course my favorite place to start. Now, in market is essentially Google saying, hey, these people are not only interested in this topic, they're actively looking to buy. How does Google know? I don't know. That's why they make billions of dollars, because they know and the rest of us don't. But for now, we could just take advantage of the fact that they've figured out who is looking to spend money. They're ready to whip out their credit card, which means it's time to show them our product or service because presumably we're a good fit for whatever they are looking for. And of course, here's another scroll of all of the options you have available to you. Again, you want to be very specific with these. So if you're looking at one, you're like, well, maybe that fits, then just don't bother using it. Use one of the other targeting options or use custom intent. But before we get to those, one more, I'm just teasing custom intent because it's the coolest thing ever when it comes to targeting. But we have to get through these other ones too, is combined audiences. So let's say we wanted to target parents who recently moved or starting a business and they're in the market for minivan, truck, or SUV, right? So as you can see here, we could layer those together so we only target people who match every single one of those criteria. And so there's a lot you could do here with combined, and it's kind of a good and a bad thing. The good thing in, let's be super specific. We know exactly who we want to target, but it can also be a big trap because sometimes we can make assumptions like someone who just moved also has the money to buy a truck, right? Like that probably someone who took out a mortgage isn't like running off to CarMax or their local auto dealer to take out another loan for another big purchase, right? So we do want to make sure, and I'm of course being facetious, but we do want to make sure that we don't pigeonhole ourselves in Google until we know that those audiences work, which is why you want to use that broad targeting like affinity and in-market, and even test some demographic or life events, make sure that they work, and then start combining them together. So to do that, I'm going to jump into the Google Ads interface here. I'm going to click on Tools and Settings, and I'm going to click on Audience Manager. is the same place to go when we set up custom intent. And of course, it's giving me a bunch of warnings. And we can go over here to combined segments. And we'll go ahead and click the blue plus button, new combined segment. We can give it a name, but then you can see here in the drop down, we can go ahead and start going through the demographics, affinity, in-market life events, and we can even use some of our custom segments, like based upon whether someone's watched a video on our channel or they visited some pages on our site. We can even start layering those in as well. And of course, there are a couple limitations here. You will find that not all life events, not all demographics show up in this particular interface. So you do want to double check and make sure. But for the most part, all affinity and all in markets will. So you can be really detailed and specific if you want to when it comes to who you're actually targeting. All right, finally ready for the best one out of all of these. Definitely save the best for last, but do start within market just so you get your campaigns up and running. And that's going to be custom intent. Now, this is just insanely cool. So there's two different ways this works. We could either give them both ways. We give them Google a set of keywords, but we can give them a set of keywords and target people based upon their interests around those keywords. So it's kind of like creating a custom affinity audience, or we could create an audience of people based upon what they've already searched in Google. So we can give them a list of keywords and say, hey, show my video ads to people who've made these searches recently on Google. And so either one, you're going to want to test both. But this is just one of those areas where you play with it a couple times and you realize just how awesome and detailed we can be. And unlike some of the other things where we get overly detailed with demographics or life events, these audiences are large enough where we're most likely not going to be paying an arm and a leg where we're saying moms over 40 in the top 20% bracket, and now we're paying 50 cents a view, versus what we can do here, we're still probably paying 15 to 30 cents a view. So it's really detailed, and we're not being overcharged for it. Super cool. So let's go ahead and say I am running a Facebook ads agency, right? So here are a couple of just different ideas I would go through. So first, I would think about keywords that someone who's interested in Facebook ads would be searching. Then I would think about different softwares or solutions they're already using. And then I might also think about, hey, who are they following, right? Who are some influencers specific to Facebook ads, right? And so we'd go ahead and make these nice little lists. You can make a list for yourself. And then we can go ahead and plug these in to Google Ads and actually create some audiences to target people inside of YouTube. I'm getting overly excited. Let's just jump back into the interface. So I'm going to cancel out of our combined segments here. So I've clicked on Tools and Settings, and I've clicked on Audience Manager, and then we're going to click on Custom Segments. And you can see here I have a couple, but we'll go ahead and create a new one. So we can click the blue plus button. I'll go ahead and drop in the name of the custom segment, and then I'll leave it on interest or purchase intentions. But if we're going back over to the Google Ads playbook example here, if I was putting in the list of keywords, then I would go ahead and click on people who searched, right? So I'll go ahead and drop in my list of landing page softwares. And presumably now I'm targeting at least marketers or business owners who are using software that other Facebook advertisers use. Now, this is a little broad, right? Because I don't know if this person's working for a marketing company and they're using these page softwares, or it's the actual business owner, which is why, of course, I'd have to test. But hey, maybe if I'm doing a Facebook ads course, then that would apply to marketers who want to improve their skills, and it would apply to business owners who want results from their Facebook ads. Now, something that's really ninja is you could actually go ahead and start typing in URLs if you use purchase intentions of login pages. And so shout out to Solutions 8. I believe that's the YouTube channel I saw this on. I was like, I've got to try that. It looks really cool. And so essentially what you can do is, let's say we go to unbalanced lead pages at Expresso. And instead of just putting in their names, we put login or sign in .unbalanced.leadpages.@Expresso, whatever the actual page is. And that's because in Chrome, remember that URL box at the top is also the search box. So every time someone types in the URL and goes there, Google's also being able to see where they're going. And so presumably we would be targeting, oh boy, we would be targeting people who not only are interested in these softwares, but they're actually using these softwares. And so That's something that's really cool that we've tested a couple times and seen some pretty awesome results with. And so that's custom segments or custom intent, and they call it custom segment in here. And this is the type of audience targeting you really want to start playing with after you have some in-market or affinity campaigns under your belt. And that does it for all of your audience targeting options. Now, we'll also run through keywords and placements. I'm going to skip topics for this one because you just should not bother using topics. And then we'll go ahead, jump back into the interface and build out your ad groups. If you are done with all of the targeting options, you're like, Jason, stop talking. Let's go back to the setting up the campaign. Then here's the timestamp to skip ahead and do that. Now, when it comes to keywords, it's important to remember that it's a content style targeting. It's not audience style. So unlike the other options we have when it comes to keywords and placements for that matter, I'll just keep saying both. We are targeting we're trying to find content that we believe our ideal customers are actually engaging with, as opposed to following our ideal customers around irrespective of what they're watching or reading. And that's a really big distinction, especially when you start looking at where your ads show up and you go, this makes no sense. Why would my ad show up on that video? It's because we're trying to follow the person versus here with keywords, we're trying to target specific types of videos. So the best way to do this is to, of course, kick things off with the keywords you already have. So hopefully you have some keywords either from your Google search campaigns or from your content marketing. And if you don't have any keywords, then this is probably not the best place to start, because then you have to go do research, and you could do research while other campaigns are live and running, right? But to do keyword research, it's going to be really simple compared to like SEO or even Google search ads. Inside of your ads account, we're going to come up here to tools and settings, and then we're going to click on keyword planner. And so if you're not quite sure what to do here, we'll go ahead and click on discover new keywords. Here's a list of what I like to call seed keywords. So think of whatever your product or service is, and then think of 3 to 5 max keywords that describe your offer, not describe content related to your offer, describe your actual paid offer. So if I was offering Facebook ad services, then I would drop in keywords like Facebook ads agency, Facebook ads manager. I would not start with Facebook ads tutorial if I wanted to generate leads. If I was just looking to grow my channel, then how to do Facebook ads tutorial, awesome. I would totally use those types of keywords. So here what I'll do is I've dropped those 2 in, and of course you can use this list to come up with 2 or 3. That's all you need. And then we'll go ahead and click on get results. And then Google, of course, is going to give us a list of keywords it thinks is related to our first 2. So we have agency and manager. So I'll just go ahead and click these. And then what you're going to do is scroll down here and click all the keywords that you think are related to whatever your product or service is. Now, if you're trying to just grow your channel, you don't care about sales, then you do how-to style searches similar to whatever research you did for your channel content, right? In which case you could skip this part because you already have your keywords. But you just scroll down here, we look for keywords related to our offer. And once you've selected 10 to 20 keywords, you can come up here to add keywords to create a plan. And once you do, we can hop over to the keyword plan. And once you're in plan, you can see a list of all your keywords. Obviously, I would be a little more detailed here. And so whether you're doing keywords for products or services, or you're doing tutorial-based keywords because you're promoting content, you're going to want to go ahead and click on this button to download them. And there's 2 things you can do at this point. We can go create a custom intent audience based upon the keywords, which is what I'll do in a moment. Or we could just go and create a campaign targeting each one of these keywords per ad group. And I realize it's a little annoying, but that's why you see in the YouTube ads playbook linked up in the description here, we just have 1 keyword per ad group because of the way Google does its reporting. You just don't know what's working unless you only have 1 targeting option per ad group. It's really annoying, but let's go ahead, jump back into the interface and create a custom intent campaign or custom intent audience, even though it's technically not using keywords directly. This is the way Google wants us to start using our keywords. So I'll jump back in here. I'll exit out of the keyword plan and I'll click on tools and settings, and I'll come over here to audience manager and then custom segments, and I'll click the plus button. And so what I'll do here is, just for time purposes, here's our tutorial-based keywords. I'll go ahead and drop them in here, and then I'll say something like Facebook ads terms. And so here I'm going to select terms. So this way we're making sure we're taking all these keywords and we're saying, hey, Google, if they search this on Google, show them my ad, right? And so again, this is an indirect way of using keywords, and this method works with all campaign types, unlike using keywords directly. And so I realize that's a little confusing. Timestamps below, or you could just comment below and be like, you totally messed that up. I have no idea what you're talking about. Either way, we can use keywords directly by creating an ad group for each one individually, or we can create a custom intent audience like this using terms, and then we can go ahead and target them as a group. And as you can see here, weekly impressions of 1 to 5 billion. I mean, that's a lot of people. So we're bound to find some combination that works. But when it comes to keyword research, that's how you can use the keyword planner. You don't need to overthink it. Be really broad. This isn't like SEO research where you have to find like these super long-tailed niche specific keywords. Keep it broad. In fact, those long ones might actually hurt your performance, not actually help as well. That does it for keyword research. I'd say it's the second best type of content targeting, right behind placements, which is of course using actual channels. All right, now what makes placements so special compared to all the other targeting options we have available to us is this is about as detailed as we can be when we say, hey Google, only show our videos or our ads on the specific video or next to this specific video or with this specific channel's content. And it is a tremendous amount of targeting power that comes with a pretty big price tag and cost as well. More on that in a little bit though. First, if you want to use placement targeting, I don't recommend using it with in-stream ads. Yes, in-stream ads are perfect for driving traffic off of YouTube, but for whatever reason, we've found that a lot of the campaigns we set up when we try and use placement targeting with an in-stream ad, they just don't run. Now, according to Google, they should run, but they just don't. And we've had some clients where we got a couple to work, and we've had other clients where we have upped the budget to just hundreds of dollars a day. And we're like, we will pay $5 a view if you show our video. And Google just still sits back and says, no, we're not going to. So as a general rule of thumb with placements, I like using them for in-feed, not necessarily in-stream. Should you test it? Of course, but just don't be shocked or think you did something wrong when it doesn't work with your skippable in-stream ads. So with that little asterisk out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the options we have available to us. So we can target specific channels, we can target specific videos. Then Google has this new option where they've essentially grouped types of videos for us by country, which is really cool. And then of course, we could also target apps and websites. Now I'm going to X off videos and I'm going to X off sites and apps because we're running on YouTube, so sites and apps doesn't really help us. And videos for the most part, unless something's getting thousands upon thousands of views per day, the video just doesn't have enough of an audience size for us to target, or like I mentioned earlier, there's a price to pay. You're going to pay a lot of money to just show up on that one video. And chances are your conversion rates or the interaction rates you get from paying that premium is not going to cover the cost. Where you find out it's just actually more cost effective to target the entire channel or target this entire niche than try and target that one specific video you think every single one of your customers is watching, because it's just going to be really, really expensive. Okay, well, note to self, check the memory card before you hit record because it might almost be out of space. So let's jump back in. We're talking about the channel targeting and of course the lineups. So first, when it comes to channel targeting, we're going to have 4 different options here. Really just 3, but 4 because I get questions about it. So first, we're going to have a $1 million+ bracket. Then we're going to have a 500K plus bracket, 500 to $1 million. And then we're going to have the micro, which is going to be 100,000 subs to 500,000 subs, which humbly I would say this channel falls in that micro category by just 20,000 subs. And then we're going to have the majority of the rest of the channels that you most likely come across that are under 100,000. And so there are a couple of reasons we want to do this. First, we want to get a sense of which types of channel targeting is going to work. Do we want to be really broad in terms of channels that our entire industry is looking at? Do we want to be a little more focused with niche style channels? Or can we be really focused and go like zero in micro? I'll go through an example for the entrepreneurship/marketing niche so you can see what I mean. And then of course we have the rest, and these are going to become your campaigns. So you're going to want about 5 channels for each. You can have more, but 5 is plenty. Now, when it comes to how on earth do you find out what channels you should be putting here? Well, it's really simple. You just head over to YouTube and search for some tutorials on whatever it is that you're promoting. So let's say I'm doing Facebook ads. So in one tab here, I just typed in Facebook ads. And then in the other tab, I typed in Facebook ads tutorial. And then I look at the channels that pop up, and I'd go ahead and start clicking through them to see if they are about Facebook advertising, if they're about marketing, or they just happen to do a one-off video, right? So you do want to make sure that you don't just add all these channels in. You wanted to go through and click and make sure that each one of these channels that you're looking at didn't just make a one-off video, right? That they're actually about your niche or subject, because every once in a while that happens. Like, for example, this channel, Daryl Wilson, he has a lot of tutorials about a lot of different things. So even though he has a Facebook ads tutorial, I wouldn't want to include his channel because he has so much content that's not related. Versus, let's see, Ben Heath, I mean, I think his is all about Google and Facebook ads. So that would be perfect. And scrolling down here, this guy, he has a couple, but there's a lot of videos that are not related to my audience, right? They talk about things that aren't related to business owners. So you'd want to just go through, click through these different channels. HubSpot, I know I would definitely try targeting. So that's all there is to channel targeting, is just making sure that does that channel, for the most part, make content that your ideal customer would actually be interested in. And then of course I'd go ahead and start grouping them together. So as an example, if I was doing this, promoting some sort of Facebook ad service or course, my really broad targeting would be entrepreneurs that everyone knows, like Gary Vee, Cardone, Lopez, Hormozi, right? And so this would just be, hey, am I going to get the people I need by targeting these really large channels? And then once I have these broad channels, I'm going to go a little more specific, targeting channels like Neil Patel or Russell Brunson. Not to say that they're small influencers by any means, or these other channels are tiny. It's just that they're more focused on the style of content in terms of the broader content of marketing versus the broader content of entrepreneurship. So hopefully that makes sense. And then if I was to go even smaller, then I would start targeting channels like Loves Data, Measure School, Miles Beckler. And so these channels are, and Surfside PPC, that are very specific towards creating advertising for the types of customers that I would be interested in. And then of course I could include smaller channels as well. And we're just going to give maybe $2.50, $5 a day to each one of these campaigns and see what happens, right? Because you never really know. You might find that the 500K channel, range does really well, while the $1 million+ channel range, you get a lot of views really cheap, but then nobody takes action, right? And then you might find, normally what I find is those smaller audiences, if it's less than 500K, like a channel like this one, you just wind up paying a lot of money per view because there's just not much ad space. And so there's this balance of being big enough where you're not overpaying, but not being so big where you get a bunch of people who just aren't really relevant, right? And so that does it for channel targeting, and that's all you need to do when it comes to figuring out what channels to target. Now, when it comes to lineups, Google and YouTube have essentially created a library of content types. And so when you're in the Google Ads interface and you're setting up your campaign, they have a lot of different topics and subjects. And so you can go ahead and test them. Personally, I haven't used them. I'm still set on using in-market custom intent and channel targeting like we just talked about. But hey, placements are always something to test, and maybe these new lineups that Google has for us actually wind up working. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Most importantly, you are good to go with placement targeting. You can see how simple it is, and you know the exact campaign type you need to use in order to test it out. So hit that like button, subscribe for more marketing guides just like this one, grab a copy of that YouTube ads playbook to help you with what to actually put in your ad and your other research. And until then, keep building the business you love.